Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. As you guys know, at UFC Vegas 32, TJ Dillashaw defeated Cory Sandhagen by split decision. And I wanted to make a video basically talking about the current circumstances of the bantamweight division, how it's kind of clogged up right now in a way, and also why I don't think TJ Dillashaw should get the next bantamweight title shot, and also why I don't think he should sit around waiting for the title shot if the UFC is willing to give it to him, which I believe the UFC is willing to give TJ Dillashaw the next title shot. So first off, as far as the split decision, if you guys watched my post fight, I thought Cory Sandhagen won, and I thought he won rounds 2, 4, and 5, and I thought it was pretty clear. But I didn't think it was an outright robbery. But to me, watching the fight, I thought Sandhagen clearly did more and won those specific rounds. Meanwhile, Dillashaw won rounds 1 and round 3. So we know TJ Dillashaw. We know the story behind him. He went down to flyweight. Because the narrative is right now, TJ Dillashaw has to go back and fight for the belt because it's a belt he never lost, which we hear a lot of the times when stuff like this happens. But TJ Dillashaw, after beating Cody Garbrandt the second time around, decided to go down to flyweight and try to capture a second belt against Henry Cejudo. He was TKO'd, and then subsequently he tested positive for EPO, a performance-enhancing drug, in his system, and was suspended for 2 years. So he's been out since January 19th, 2019, up until July 24th. His suspension was up January this year, but there was injuries and problems, and that's why he didn't return until July. So he basically sat out for over 2.5 years since his last fight. So first off, I'll tell you why I don't think he deserves a title shot. When you are cheating and you're trying to take away a guy's consciousness, you're out there to beat somebody up. I think cheating is the worst thing you can do. I know it's kind of cliche. Everyone always says it. You're not throwing a football around. You're not, hitting a ball. You're hitting someone else's head. You're smashing their brain. You're really hurting them and trying to inflict damage on them. I love mixed martial arts, but that's the reality of what's going on here. I loved seeing two guys compete at the highest level, but that's, when it comes down to it, one guy is trying to knock another guy out. And when you're using performance enhancing drugs to be able to, increase your ability to be able to perform in a sport like that, I think you should be punished for it. And I know he served his 2-year suspension, and I know he came back and he fought a top contender in Cory Sandhagen. But I just believe, for him cheating, he already got the paychecks. So he sat out for 2 years, but he still got paid for that fight. It's not like he lost money out on that fight. And I just really think, he shouldn't be rewarded with a title shot even after one win. I think personally what I would be okay with, and this isn't going to happen. I believe the UFC is willing to give him a title shot right away. But also I'm going to get to my point why I don't think TJ Dillashaw should wait around. But I really think he should have to fight in a perfect world two top contenders, one being Cory Sandhagen, which he already defeated, controversial as it may be. He won the fight. The judges gave him the decision. I think he should fight Rob Font. And the reason I think that is I think he should really have to earn his way back to a title. I know he was never technically stripped. He technically vacated the belt after the positive test, but it was one of those situations where, you can't fire me because I quit. And he vacated the belt. He knew the UFC was going to strip him, so they just kind of let him, have the graceful way out and, just technically vacate the belt. So for cheating, I just don't think he should come back, get one win, and then fight for a belt. I think he should really have to earn it. And I think with the way the division is going right now, I think it makes sense as far as timing. I know the UFC, probably looks at TJ Dillashaw as the biggest name in the division right now, and they want to give him that title shot, but I just don't think it's earned. I think he should have to earn it against Rob Font, who just recently defeated Cody Garbrandt himself, a former champion, in a spectacular win. It was a great performance by Rob Font. And I think Rob Font is kind of in that space where he's really teetering on potentially have earned a title shot himself. I know the Cody Garbrandt win was his biggest win, but the guy has been around putting in work forever now. So I think let TJ Dillashaw fight Rob Font, and he can potentially earn the next title shot. So as far as why I don't think TJ Dillashaw should wait around, and there's one kind of particular circumstance that I'm going to get to in a minute of why waiting around might be the best option, though, even though I'm kind of contradicting myself there. But Cory Sandhagen, Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling is not happening till almost November, late October, supposedly UFC 267 on October 30th. So if you look at that time frame, no matter what happens in that fight, let's say Petr Yan regains his bantamweight title, he's probably not fighting, depending on how the fight goes, at the best case scenario, early next year, maybe February, March of next year. So that's essentially, you have, TJ sitting out for another, what, 6, 7, 8 months, something like that, depending on the time frame of when Yan is able to return. And then also you have the possibility, and nobody's going to like this, but imagine if Aljamain Sterling somehow gets the upset in the rematch. For those of you guys who don't know, I know there's some people who watch these videos and they don't remember every circumstance of every fight that went on, but I think most of you will remember. But just in case somebody doesn't know, Yan versus Sterling ended with an illegal knee. Yan was getting close to finish him. He actually illegally kneed him as he was down. Aljamain Sterling could no longer continue, and the belt was awarded to Sterling via DQ. So essentially, Yan won that first fight, even though I know technically on the scoreboard it wasn't. So if Sterling comes out and let's say he KOs Yan in the first round, there's some debate for a trilogy there. I think Yan would want that trilogy. So then how far does that push TJ Dillashaw back? So that wouldn't happen. Then you're potentially sitting out another year. And the reason I don't think this is good for TJ Dillashaw, sometimes, certain fighters it might make sense. But you got a guy who's already 35 years old, so he's already in advanced age, especially for a bantamweight. He's already missed the last 2.5 years of his career. Why sit out another, 6 months to a year waiting on a title shot? I just don't think it makes sense. If he already believes he's the best in the world, why not go fight a Rob Font, earn another paycheck, and earn a title shot against the champion, whether it be Yan or Sterling? It just doesn't make sense, and a guy, and I know people have seen, I don't really like Dillashaw particularly because of the cheating issues. But at the end of the day, whether I like him or not, I love seeing him fight. I want to see him perform. I want to see him in the cage. For me as a fan, I want to see an active TJ Dillashaw. And I particularly love that matchup with Rob Font, regardless. I mean, who doesn't want to see TJ Dillashaw versus Rob Font? So why not make that matchup? TJ Dillashaw can earn another title shot. And, he doesn't have to sit out and be inactive. He said he was a little sloppy in the fight against against Sandhagen, just because, he had had such a long time off and that he was nervous, even though he didn't show it in the lead up to the fight, that he was nervous about stepping in the cage just because he'd been off for so long. So ring rust is a real thing. When you're not in there actively fighting another guy, it's hard to replicate that, even if you're training hard and doing all the right things like TJ supposedly is. So why not keep him active? He already believes he's the best in the world. So if he's the best in the world, he can beat Rob Font, and then he can take on Yan or Sterling next year instead of sitting out for so long. So the one unique situation, and this could be a combination of basically both of the original points I made, where it's partially TJ waiting, but it's also TJ being active in a way. You'll understand what I'm saying. So TJ might want to wait, to fight towards the end of this year, maybe in November or December. And the reason I say that, let's say he gets a fight booked in November, okay, against Rob Font, whoever you want to book him against, it doesn't matter. He potentially has the opportunity, if Sterling or Yan falls out of that October 30th fight, to step in and immediately being fighting for the bantamweight title. And I hate to say this, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but if Sterling gets injured or pulls out of that fight, I can see the UFC stripping him of the bantamweight title just because, they don't view him as the actual champion. Whether that's right or wrong, I'm not here to debate that. I don't necessarily think that would be the right thing to do. But I could totally see the UFC doing that. And if Sterling falls out, then TJ has the ability to step in against Yan to fight for the undisputed bantamweight title in a fight that would be massive. So if he kind of books a fight in November, he can still step in on that fight in October if someone does fall out. Or even if Yan falls out, he can fight Sterling for the undisputed belt. So either way, I think if one of those guys falls out, regardless, TJ can step in and fight for the undisputed belt. So in that case, he's still active. He can fight for the belt potentially, so he's kind of waiting, at least till November to fight, because then that way he could have an opportunity to step in if one of those guys falls out. And we've seen it time and time again. There's been so many pullouts this last year, and so who knows what's liable to happen. And then let's say there's not a pullout and he fights in November and he wins in November. Both those guys are kind of on the same time frame. So the bantamweight title holder, whoever it may be, and TJ Dillashaw would kind of be on the same timeline for their next fight. They could fight early next year, February, March of next year. And I really think that Petr Yan versus TJ Dillashaw is one of the biggest fights the bantamweight division can make. And I think no matter what happens, as a fan, I'm going to enjoy seeing these fights. Even if I don't think TJ necessarily deserves it with one win just because of his cheating history, it's still going to be a great fight. And I want to see TJ Dillashaw active. I want to see Aljamain Sterling active. I want to see Petr Yan active. So no matter what, we kind of win as fans. And I just kind of wanted to go over those different scenarios because I feel like not a lot of people are really talking about it. Most people are just saying, okay, TJ's next in line, but they're not looking at he's already sat out for so long, 2.5 years. He's 35 years old. People talk about it all the time. You got to go in and collect as many paychecks as possible. And with TJ Dillashaw's name, I know he's not getting pay-per-view points because he's not the champion. But if he already believes he's the best, why not go in there and collect another paycheck on the route to the title? That's all I'm saying. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Am I crazy? Do I make a lot of sense? Let me know. Like the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.